we are going to do our tight end rankings for the 2023 NFL season. I do not have a lot to say about these lower level tight ends. Once I get to like the top 10, 15, that's when I will be more engaged. So these first chunk of guys, I'm not going to have a lot to say about. Number 36, Tyler Conklin. So there's a couple tight ends or a couple teams with multiple tight ends that I wanted to include on this list. Mostly because I don't think that there is a clear number one tight end in some of those situations, or I think that both of these tight ends will produce to at a substantial enough level that I want to include them in this ranking. So number 36 is Tyler Conklin. I don't really have a lot of extra to say about that. Number 35, I have CJ Uzomah. Again, I don't have a lot to say about any of these guys, so I'm just going to keep rolling through these pretty quickly. Number 34 is Cade Otton. He's on the Buccaneers still, I think. Kyle Rudolph also just retired for them, so he should get a lot more workload than he did previous years, because I know Kyle Rudolph was getting a decent amount of targets. Number 33, Mo Alie-Cox. He's not the number one receiver in Indianapolis, or number one tight end. It's Jelani Woods now, I believe, but Mo Alie-Cox should still produce at a decent level. Number 32 is Tucker Kraft. So I think he is he's a good solid tight end, right? Nothing too special. Number 31 is Jake Ferguson. So he is the tight end 1 now in Dallas, I believe, because they do not have Dalton Schultz, because now he's in Houston, I believe. But Jake Ferguson, I think he looked pretty good in training camp and stuff, so he should get decent targets, but he's not going to produce a lot because they have three really good tight ends. They have three really good receivers that are going to get a majority of the targets, and Tony Pollard will get a lot of targets. So I don't know how much Jake Ferguson is going to actually be involved in the passing game. Number 30 is Dan Bellinger. So he's solid. He's a solid tight end. So I don't really got a lot to say about that. 29 is Logan Thomas. So this guy has been better in the past, but I think he's getting slightly worse as the years go on, which makes sense. But yeah, so like 29, he's okay. He's not a great tight end or even a good tight end by any means. He's just okay. He's fine. Number 28 is Hayden Hurst. So this guy was pretty good in Cincinnati. I think he's actually in Atlanta now, right? I don't know. I don't exactly know where he is. His picture's in Atlanta. So I feel like he's in Atlanta. This is kind of bad that I don't know where these tight ends actually play. But they're also tight ends, and I don't really know a lot about these. Oh, sorry. I do not know a lot about these lower level tight ends. So, yeah. Number 27 is Luke Musgrave. So he's a rookie tight end for the Green Bay Packers. I do know that. I think he's going to be decently involved in the pass game. I know they have a lot of young receivers too, so it's a battle of the young guys for the Packers receiving core, counting like wide receiver and tight end, both in the receiving core. A lot of young guys, so I think this guy is pretty solid. He looked good in preseason and stuff, so he should get a good amount of targets. 26 is Sam Laporta, also another rookie tight end. I think this guy's slightly better than Luke Musgrave. I don't really have a lot of reasoning behind that. That's just basically how I feel, because they're both about the same level of talent. Number 25 is Juwan Johnson. This guy's good. I know this guy played good in preseason, okay? He was actually pretty good in preseason, but also it's preseason, so I'm not going to think too much on that. But 25 for Juwan Johnson, I think is pretty solid ranking. Number 24 is... How does this happen? Sorry about that. It keeps happening. Number 24. What the heck? I'm not touching... Okay, sorry. Sorry. Number 24 is Dalton Kincaid. So he's not the number one tight end in Buffalo. What is happening? I'm so sorry. I do not know what's happening. Number 24 is Dalton Kincaid. He's been hyped up to be a pretty solid receiver. Even like I've seen him to be like a really good fantasy option at tight end. I think I said receiver earlier. I meant tight end. Sorry. I think he's been hyped up to be a very solid fantasy tight end. I don't really understand it completely, considering they do still have Dawson Knox. But I guess Dalton Kincaid is supposed to take over Dawson Knox's job pretty soon. So yeah, 24 seems solid for right now. 23 is Hunter Henry. I know Hunter Henry's a pretty solid tight end. He nothing too special, but he's pretty good, right? Yeah. Number 22 is Austin Hooper. This guy was better um, in Atlanta before Kyle Pitts. Now he's in Cleveland. I really hope Deshaun Watson utilizes this dude. He's a tight end 2 behind David Njoku in Cleveland right now, I do believe, if I'm not mistaken. But I think he should get a solid amount of reps. Number 21 is Gerald Everett in Chargers. This guy surprisingly gets a lot more targets than I expected. Part of that is probably because Mike Williams and Keenan Allen have an injury history, so they have to go to their tight end some more. But he definitely benefits off of that, and he does well with what with the targets he does get. Number 20 is Noah Fant. He's a solid tight end. Yeah, I did think I liked him better in Denver, but even in Seattle, he's still doing a pretty solid job. Number 19, Cole Kmet. This guy, he's one of the few targets that Justin Fields has had since he came into the league, I believe. So that he has some experience with Justin Fields, so that helps him with his chemistry and everything there. Number 18 is Jelani Woods. I don't know what's up with this picture. We can't see his face, but that's okay. So he's with the Colts, right? He's the number 1 tight end for the Colts. I've been told that he has like top 10 fantasy potential for tight ends. I don't understand it. I mean, the Colts, I feel like aren't going to be throwing the ball a whole lot because Anthony Richardson is not a great quarterback. But when he does throw the ball, Jelani Woods is probably going to be one of his main targets, along with Michael Pittman and stuff. But yeah, so he should be a solid tight end. Number 17, Tyler Higbee. He's good. He's a good tight end for the Rams. There's not a lot of weapons for Matt Stafford to throw the ball to outside of Cooper Kupp, so Higbee should get a lot of opportunity there too. Yeah. Number 16 is, I'm gonna say Chig Okonkwo. I don't know Chigo Zion. I don't know how to say that, so I'm gonna say Chig Okonkwo. He looked really good in preseason and stuff for the tight end. I like this dude a lot. I think he could be a top 7-8 tight end by the end of the season. But just because now he does not have a lot of experience, I'm going to go at number 16. Number 15, Greg Dulcich. So this guy was actually utilized pretty good in Denver last season. Their receivers have some injury problems and stuff, and Dulcich was a pretty solid option throughout the whole season. So I like Dulcich. He's a solid tight end. Number 14 is Zach Ertz. This guy was like a top 5 tight end at some points in Philadelphia and when he first got traded. But part of why he's probably a lot lower now, some of it is because he's getting older. He's just not as talented. Some of it is because he has significantly worse quarterback play, and so he doesn't get the same opportunity that he did. But number 14 is still pretty solid, I think. Number 13 is Evan Ingram. This guy was doing pretty good last year with Jacksonville. I think he could continue to do that again this year. Better than what he was doing in New York, for sure. Having Trevor Lawrence rather than Daniel Jones really helps out with that. Number 12 is Dalton Schultz. He was pretty good in Dallas last year. I think he's going to be slightly worse in Houston this year. He might be he might honestly be a higher option than he was. It's just that he has CJ Stroud rather than Dak, which is, a downgrade for sure. But honestly, CJ Stroud probably throw less picks than Dak this year, so I don't know. Maybe Dalton Schultz will benefit from CJ Stroud. Number 11 is Dallas Goedert. He's a really good tight end. He doesn't put up insane numbers, probably because there's a lot of good receivers around him, so he doesn't get the most opportunity to show off all of his skill, but I think he's a pretty good tight end. Number 10 is Kyle Pitts. He has all the talent and stuff to be number 2 tight end in the league. I say number 3 probably behind like Kittle and Kelsey, but he just doesn't perform at that high level yet. I really want him to get to that level because obviously it'd be really fun to see a tight end at that caliber. At the speed he is, he's the fastest tight end in the league. So I don't know what his problem is with not being able to be so productive. I really hope that Desmond Ridder gives him a chance this year. Like, just throw the ball to Kyle Pitts just because. Like, just give him opportunities to show out. Because I really want to see this guy succeed. Number 9 is Mike Gesicki. I thought he did really good in Miami last year. So now that he's in New England, obviously Mac Jones is a downgrade from Tua / yeah. But also Mike Gesicki did good when they did not have Tua in the games last year. So I think he can be good with Mac Jones. Number 8 is Dawson Knox. So he's pretty solid. I think he'll have a worse year this year than last year. A lot of that is because of Dalton Kincaid. I think the Bills drafted Kincaid to be Dawson Knox's replacement eventually. So Dawson Knox is going to see that and not exactly be too fond of that, but he's also going to not have a choice, and he's going to get less reps and less targets because of it. So number 8, I think, is a solid spot for him right now. Number 7, David Njoku. He's been one of the more consistent pieces in the Browns organization. No matter what quarterback he has, he always puts up roughly the same number of stats, which I think is pretty telling of how good of a tight end you actually are. So I think he's pretty solid at number 7. Number 6 is Pat Freiermuth. I think he's pretty good. He's actually improving over the recent years. And I think Kenny Pickett really likes Pat Freiermuth. He's one of his top targets, honestly. It was last year, at least. I think he'll continue to be that this year. Number 5 is TJ Hawkinson. So he's one of the best tight ends in the league for sure. Honestly, he's probably the second best receiving option on his team, behind Justin Jefferson for sure, right? But TJ Hawkinson is, he's a really good tight end. He's a good receiver. He can make good catches, and he's physical and all that stuff. So yeah, he's number 5. Number 4 is Darren Waller. So he is more skilled than TJ Hawkinson. He's faster than TJ Hawkinson. I think he has better hands. He's less physical, but he has better hands. So it basically balances it out. I think he will be the lead receiver right now in New York. That's what's been happening in preseason and all, and training camp and everything. They're just raving about how much Darren Waller's connection with Daniel Jones is going to help them. So, because they have never had consistent wide receiver health, so getting a good tight end here that has been consistently healthy should be very good for Daniel Jones. Number 3 is Mark Andrews. I don't think these top 3 are really debatable at all. So this shouldn't be much of a surprise to anybody. Obviously, he's been like the top target sometimes for Lamar Jackson. Also, they've also had a lot of wide receiver injury history and stuff, and Mark Andrews typically is healthy, so he gets more consistent action and more consistent targets than the others. But he does produce at a high level. Number 2 is George Kittle. Everyone should be understanding that George Kittle is, at worst, the number 2 tight end in the entire league. He's the best blocking tight end in the league for sure. He's still incredibly catching and all that stuff, but his blocking is really the best aspect of him. But yeah, his hands are good. He's very physical. So if he can catch it and run through people for a lot of extra yards after the catch, that's the best part about him. Number 1 is quite clearly Travis Kelce. Nobody should be arguing that Travis Kelce is the best tight end in the league. That's pretty self-explanatory. He is the number 1 option in Kansas City. He is he's probably a top 10 player in the entire league. He puts up insane stats that no receiver, hardly any receivers even do this, and he's a tight end doing all this, which is just incredible. He is leagues above anyone else, any other tight end in the receiving category, for sure. That's just a fact. So that rounds out my tight ends list. Thank you for watching. There is more videos to come out this week, and probably more that have come out before this video this week. So make sure you go back and watch all my videos from this week, because there is quite a bit of them. I feel like I think there's going to be a total of 6 of them this week. So make sure you go support the other videos.